Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to make a video about the astrology going on and also share with you a story that's currently posted on my website. If you have not been to my website yet, I highly encourage you to head on over to sleepingshaman.com and go ahead and join my newsletter. I don't send out frequent newsletters, but I do create blogs. And when I do, I would like to send them out to my subscribers. So I want to share with you one of the blogs that I've written just the other day about a trip that I took to Wilmington and some of the interesting synchronicities and supernatural phenomenons that occurred. But before I go ahead and read that, let's talk a little bit about the astrology. So, as you may know, the moon is currently in Scorpio. The moon is in Scorpio at 10 degrees. The sun is in Gemini at 7 degrees. So we're soon going to have the full moon in Sagittarius. So right now we're dealing with the moon in Scorpio. And with the moon in Scorpio, this, there's some interesting things going on. Um, for starters, anytime the moon is in Scorpio, our emotions are going to intensify. What we feel or what is there, like when I say there, I mean like what's inside of us, um, that we're not really giving attention to, can come up and we feel those areas of ourselves, of our inner world more intensely. Because the sun in astrology, as I like to tell people, is a great ball of fire in the sky, right? It's this massive source of energy in our solar system. And the sun projects tons of cosmic radiation. It projects and sends forth in all directions energy. And without the sun sending out that energy, there could be no life sustained here on Earth. So the sun is our spiritual life force. It's our animation, it's our projection, it's our energy, it's our conscious awareness of ourselves. It's how we express and share ourselves. The moon doesn't have its own light. The moon doesn't project profound cosmic rays out into the universe. The moon is really just this rock in this in our orbit, in Earth's orbit. The moon reflects the light of the sun, and without the sun's light, there'd be no shining moon. So the moon represents this internal private world, whereas the sun is this outer projection. The moon is this internal private world that operates through sensing and feeling. Because, like the sun, we can see it, we can feel it, we can express it, we can project it, but the sun can only reflect. I mean, the moon can only reflect. So the moon is our inner private world that we process emotionally through sensing and feeling, which is why the moon is also associated to our intuitions. And when the moon is in Scorpio, it puts us in a position of having to feel and sense more of the deeper unconscious aspects of ourselves, which can create this tension, this inner turmoil, this inner battle within yourself, where you may see yourself giving into certain behavior patterns that keep you binded in a lower expression, but then at the same time have the conscious awareness of wanting to break free from it, wanting to be free from it. So let's say like a drug addiction, right? Because Scorpio also governs what we hide, what we don't want to show. Scorpio is the things that we keep secret beneath the surface. And Scorpio is also obsession, right? Obsession, obsessive tendencies. And it's where it's, the energy of Scorpio is where we can find drug addiction, alcoholism, sexual addiction, sexual abuse. Um, it's where a lot of shadows reside within the Scorpio expression. So when the moon is in Scorpio, it can pull out those areas of ourselves, of our deeper unconscious to sort of come out in various of different ways that likely only you are seeing, that you are witnessing, because you're keeping it secret and it's private and you're going through this process. So the moon in Scorpio right now, you could be dealing with some self-awarenesses and some feelings of shame and guilt surfacing from your belly, from your abdomen, from your core. And really, if that's happening for you at this time, um, it's meant to be transformed and transmuted, and you're meant to surrender and allow certain aspects or certain thought forms and beliefs that are keeping you binded, and to really make a powerful decision to let go and claim that this is no more, and put intention in making a shift in direction. And the moon in Gemini right now can really create a swirl. Because Gemini, the Mercury's in Gemini, the Sun is in Gemini, Uranus is in Gemini, right? So all this Gemini energy, because the Sun is also in an inconjunct, in a quincunx to that moon in Scorpio. So the Gemini energy can really add a swirl to the moon in Scorpio. Um, and the swirl is that our thoughts and our intention can be scattered in multiple directions. And it can leave you prone to it can make you prone to it can make you suggestible to rogue thoughts, negative thoughts, something that someone else says to you, something in your environment, content that you are taking in, can make you pretty susceptible for subliminal or unintended programming to get into your mind if you're not paying attention to yourself, if you're not actively trying to manage your mind, manage your thoughts. So it's important with all this Gemini energy to concentrate just a little bit, just a little bit, just concentrate enough to become clear in what it is you are doing with yourself right now, this day, tomorrow, this weekend. What are you doing? Um, because with the Gemini energy that's occurring right now, it is very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to um, waste time and waste energy, and to forget about certain crucial details that you should be working on right now. So time management, focusing, concentrating, and intending, it's super important right now. And with the moon in Scorpio, it could really take you for a ride, essentially. For some people, and for my viewers and such, we're a pretty conscious group. We're pretty aware and awake of ourselves. But for the world at large, with this combination of energy, there can literally be a form of possession, a form of uh, giving into drugs and alcohol because the mind is not really deeply rooted, and it's looking more so to have fun, right? You know how Gemini gets a bad rap for being scattered and superficial, right? And unreliable. This is the kind of expressions we can see right now in the world is that superficiality, that not really acknowledging the seriousness of your life, the world, and the things that are happening, and rather giving into vices and distractions. And what is crucial about having this awareness right now for yourselves and in the world that you may be observing, what's crucial about this is the active square to the nodes. With the sun at 7 degrees Gemini, the sun is still within a fading square to the nodes. And by a week from now, when Uranus reaches 2 degrees Gemini, and the nodes move to 3 degrees Gemini, I mean, 3 degrees Pisces and Virgo, the intensity of the Uranus T square to the nodes is going to begin to really be felt. So, what I am saying is that right now, um, the karmic past, collective karma, our cycles, our patterns are looping. It's those gates of karma are being activated to be open right now. So lessons and energies and things can sort of um, mirror and manifest as a reflection to the past in our life right now that can really change the course of where you are currently at in your life right now that ultimately changes timelines and trajectory of where you are heading with your future and your chosen destiny. So things are unpredictable right now, which means if you are not focusing and intending and trying to have a daily uh, practice of cleanliness and really trying to purify yourself, to rid yourself of the impurities and gain more control of your energy, taking your power back from these unconscious realms and shadow behaviors that have their hooks in you, then you can be very vulnerable to slide in to something and be taken for a ride where you then manifested an experience or a scenario in your life that causes a karmic experience that could be pretty negative. And Scorpio is the sixth house for Gemini, right? Because we're in Gemini season. The sun is in Gemini. So when the moon's in Scorpio during Gemini season, the moon's moving through the sixth house of Gemini. And Gemini is daily routine, health and wellness, right? Your daily practice, your habitual patterns. And so it's very important during this Gemini season, especially right now as the moon is transiting through Scorpio, is to really purify and to hone back your focus back into what is your daily practice. What is your daily practice? What are the foundations of your habitual patterns that are going to assist you in being a more pure, authentic and integrated person that is in control of your mind and your thoughts and your energy and pulling them in from the your multidimensional, multifaceted potential. I'm not saying that being multidimensional and and multifaceted is a bad thing, but it does require a skill. And it is very advanced to do. And with the Uranian energy, most people are not at that advanced level. I'm not at that advanced level. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that I'm at that advanced level. I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you about what this astrology is saying. Now, the other thing about this moon is in Scorpio is that it has been in an opposition to this Mars in Taurus. And this Mars in Taurus has been busy this week. On Monday, I wrote an article. We started the week off with the Mars in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And any hard aspects between Mars and Pluto are always going to be in my mind, a boxing arena, a boxing match between ego and willpower, between the Mars energy and the passion and the readiness to face and to display your bravado, display your passion, and be very reactionary, right? Mars can be a very confrontational energy, and can have a strong uh, willpower and a lot of passion, a lot of fire behind it. However, Pluto overpowers Mars any given day. And Pluto is that more deeper energy, right? Whereas Mars is just this brash, immature expression that wants its freedom to do whatever it wants. Pluto is this deeper psychoanalytical energy that can see who you are on a deeper level and understand the hurt child hiding behind the ego and wanting to taunt that and pull that out in order for you to see yourself. So Mars and Pluto squares can be a battle of ego and willpower, strength and force. It is a period where people can have a stronger sense that they have the upper hand, that they have the authority, that they are the righteous one. And so they will have a lot more passion and a sense of validation that them forcing themselves to command you or to have their word be the final word is a lot stronger. So in my article that I wrote the other day, I attributed this to an example of imagine going in, knocking on the door of your teenager who's blasting music and just doing nothing in their room, right? And you say, "Hey, teenage child of mine who I work very hard for to give a good life, the trash is full, and tomorrow morning they're gonna pick up our trash cans. Would you please bring the cans out to the front of the road so the guy can pick him up tomorrow morning?" And then your angst teenage child, right? Also feeling this energy is just like, ugh, why are you fucking disturbing me? Why do I gotta do this? I don't want to do this. You think you can just come in here and tell me what to do? I hate you. I hate your fucking voice. I hate when you tell me shit like this, right? And this is what they're feeling that intensity, right? But then the expression is, no, I don't want to take out the trash. You can't make me take out the trash. You take out the trash, right? And then the parent, right? Then you're also feeling the Mars Pluto square. So now you're also feeling like, what the fuck? Like, I'm the authority here. I'm the one who does the fucking all the things and take care of this child has no right to talk to me like, right? So then now you're also like yelling, get the fuck up, take out the goddamn trash right now, show some fucking respect, right? Now you're like, what the hell? And your child's just like, no, fuck you. What are you gonna do about it, huh? And then you're just going back and forth. And then it turns into calling things out, right? the inner resentments that each other have been holding towards one another, right? Well, you didn't come to my fucking, ball game last month, and that one was really important to me, and I needed you there, and you weren't there. So, fuck you, you're a piece of shit, and I can't rely on you. And then it's like, well, I work all these hours and I do all this job to give you a good life, and you can't even acknowledge how hard that is to do that and how it hurts for me to have missed your game. Can you acknowledge that, child? Right. And so we're going deeper into the things, right? Into what's been kind of building up all the dirty laundry, right? So the week started out with that kind of energy. Very easy to create mountains out of molehills. And with Mars being at 7 degrees Taurus, he's still within a 90-degree square to that Pluto at 5 degrees, right? So that intensity, that tension is still ringing throughout this week. And now that the moon is in Scorpio, if certain things have occurred, right, at the start of the week, and there's been no true resolution, with the moon in Scorpio can really bring things to a more intense level, right? Where now let's continue on with this story between the parent and the teenager, right? Let's say they couldn't get along and the trash didn't get taken out and hurtful things were said, right? And then the next day we're going to school, the moon is in Scorpio. Now we're texting, right? We're trying to text and make it work out through text, but then it didn't work. And then now all of a sudden the kid says, well, fuck you, I'm running away, right? And then the kid just decides, I'm gonna leave, I got an opportunity over here, and then they're gone, right? Or or with the moon in Scorpio, right? Drugs, right? The drugs, right? Somebody's like, "Psst, hey, we're going to a party tonight. Don't tell no one. Secret, okay? Uh, so going to the party, not coming home, drugs, and then because of the moon, I mean, because of Uranus and the sun in Gemini, this is what I'm saying. The sun, moon, and Gemini squaring the nodes, right? Now we're in a situation where the worst fucking shit can happen, due to the level of the unconscious demonic energies that are open during a time like the moon in Scorpio, especially if there's drugs, anger, unprocessed emotions, angst, right? And then with that Mars square to Pluto, right? This is a lot. So, and also now where the moon is in Scorpio, opposite Taurus, right? Now we have a T square with Pluto, okay? So we have a fixed T square going on right now, okay? So on the more positive end, right? On the more positive end of experiencing, of tapping into this energy, right, is to really look at yourself, to really look at yourself, look at your life, be honest, and speak the truth of where you're at, of where you're at with yourself, and to identify what you're ready to purify and transform and let go, and gracefully put the intentions and gracefully take your power back in shifting whatever it is that you got going on in a private sense, because remember this is a private thing with the moon in Scorpio. So you can do that to take your power back and to charge yourself and go through a transformation, like literally shed a whole layer of skin. Right now you have a process, you have a window of opportunity to make a real transformation in a short period of time if you're really focusing in on that energy. But if you're not, and the Gemini, the overwhelming, because humanity is still um calibrating to the Uranus and Gemini expression. Okay. Um, Uranus has been in Gemini for like a little over a month, okay? Whereas before Uranus and Gemini, Uranus was in Taurus for roughly 7, 8 years, okay? Uranus in Taurus, Taurus is a way different expression than Gemini. Taurus is very earth, very body, very grounded, very heavy, very stubborn. It's more stable. However, Uranian energy is an energy that destabilizes, right? But in Taurus, you know, the things that are destabilizing are not as crazy as it is experiencing it in Gemini. And the reason why is because Gemini is the mind, thoughts, thinking, the brain, okay? The brain is right is a physical organ in the body, right? But in the brain, there's synapses, there's neurons, there's thinking, there's consciousness, right? There's spirit, there's consciousness. And in within the mind, through meditation, because the mind can operate in various frequencies, beta, alpha, theta, delta, different states of awarenesses, right? And depending on what we are doing with our mind, where we are going in the abstract, non-physical realms of our thinking and our imagination, while also intuiting and feeling where we are going with that, right? Gemini is a very complex energy. A lot of people cannot handle Gemini energy because of the fact that it's so mental. Not even all Geminis can handle being a Gemini. I'm being fucking, not even all Geminis can really even handle what the fuck the true potential of being a Gemini can actually be, right? What the true potential of a Gemini can actually do. Because the mental plane, the realm of the mind is limitless. It's vast. It can reach dimensions, all kinds of dimensions, all realms, okay? Through the mind, we can access that, all right? Which is why Gemini is the twins and duality, because it needs to have that constant motor of curiosity and exploration and being able to move throughout the vastness of all the fucking things that exist in that realm. Uranus being in Gemini is a whole different roller coaster than Uranus being in Taurus. And humanity is getting adjusted to that right now. Okay. A lot of people don't know how to fucking handle this new Uranian expression. So, yeah, I would just watch out. To tell you the truth, I would just watch out. Mind, be aware of yourself, right? Because one of the things that I'm finding very interesting, right? Because we have the square, we have the T square, but one of the things that I'm finding very interesting about the Pluto in Aquarius aspect, okay? The interesting thing about the Pluto in Aquarius aspect, something that I'm just personally witnessing and experiencing, because there's a few very bizarre, very bizarre uh supernatural things that humanity is um starting to slowly become aware of. Some of us are more aware of this than others because we've already been doing this work for a while. But what I'm talking about with the Pluto in Aquarius is it is that it is intensifying the experience of invasive foreign frequencies and thought forms trying to invade and manipulate your own self. okay, via AI technology, via your cell phone, via the cell towers, via the over intoxication of EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, and the algorithms and content and biohacking, hacking into your nervous system. Okay. So this is one of the interesting components about the Pluto and Aquarius part because it's the invisible hidden enemy, the invisible hidden enemy that's operating through the machine that's been created via technology and frequencies, and the egregors that have also been created, the thought forms, right? Because Aquarius is an air sign, just like Gemini, and so is Libra. And air signs are intellectual. Air signs come from the realm of the intellect and the mind. But there's three different modes of the mind operating. Gemini is the mode of versatility, the mutable sign, adaptability, versatility, and change. Libra is the mind in cardinal expression, projection, character, identity. Aquarius is the fixed air sign, concentrating, completing, building, using all the mental power, right? And the knowingness of the mind and the thoughts and the information on a very advanced level to really concentrate and to focus onto something, right? Egregors, thought forms, right? Egregors are thought forms where collectives of people have given so much energy and focusing and obsession that it literally births and creates entities, foreign frequencies. Okay. So this is another element that is nefariously in the playing field of our lives right now that's very, very important to maintain a level of awareness, especially with the Sun and Uranus squared to the nodes that we are experiencing now and into next month. Because bad things can potentially happen. The worst can happen, but also miracles can happen at this time. It depends on what you are doing and if you're falling asleep or not. Because of that Pluto in Aquarius and the moon in Scorpio leading up to the full moon in Gemini and this whole new world of energy that we're going into, okay? I need you. You need to start becoming aware that if you are in a situation, if you are dealing with something, to start trying to see if there are aspects of yourself and aspects of other people around you that are very subtly being manipulated and, in a way, puppeteered by foreign entities, whether through their technology or their thought forms or just whatever is around in their frequency that is feeding off of the dynamic, right? The toxification, the dynamic, the drama, right? From you, from others, and everyone involved. And let's say you have a true potential to really accomplish great things for yourself that in effect have a ripple, right? Of positivity moving throughout the whole world, throughout the whole universe, okay? And let's say these energies, right? These archons that exist in a higher dimension non-physically, where time, space, locality is more non-linear and elusive, right? There's less rules, there's less structure when it comes to those things, right? And they're like, dude, if we don't figure out a way to fuck up this person in the trajectory that he is now, then he's going to accomplish something eventually that will contribute and have a domino effect to our demise, right? The invisible enemy. So we can't sleep on them. we can't sleep on him. We need to keep on fucking trying to get things going on around him that keeps him from coming into power, coming into strength, coming into alignment, right? What can we do? This is for everybody. So, very important right now to kind of really look at things that are happening, not just in your life, but in the world around you, in the people involved in your life around you, to pay attention and to wonder, okay, to really wonder how much space in your mind and in someone else's mind is being held for foreign thought forms, for foreign things to occur, right? Sabotage, all right? There's a lot of nefarious, invisible energies seeking to sabotage, and they are at it 24/7. Okay. So, what is super important right now, especially with the Gemini energy, because with the Gemini energy, you're going to become open and curious about the versatility and the multitude of all things that are possible. And it's because you can become prone to delusions, okay? Become prone to delusions and ideas, right? That are not really real or grounded, right? And potentially even escape pattern, right? Due to perhaps not wanting to face yourself and turning a monster out of somebody or something that is actually for your own best interest. And really what it is you just need to develop more as a person. But having the pressure of something in your life trying to make you more accountable, whether if it's the universe, thing going on in the mundane, or somebody physically present, right? That accountability, going back to the teenage child who doesn't know anything and doesn't understand, right? That the parental figure is doing everything that they can to give them a good life. And they still don't even understand what paying taxes means, right? Property taxes and all the other shit, right? They don't even have a driver's license yet, right? But they have all this entitlement, right? Okay. So it's very important to understand that what I'm trying to say in based on that of what I just completed there, what I'm trying to say is if there's particular types of tension or drama going on in your life between yourself or other people, I would ask you to take a second to really see if the adversary or the enemy, or the person who's playing being the conflict, the problem of your story, right? To think, is that really true, or am I being taken for a ride and not really seeing an opportunity where I can really change some unconscious energies in my life, right? So I'm saying this because I don't want you to destroy or sabotage anything good that you already have in your life. Because with that Mars square to Pluto, and now with the moon and Scorpio completing the T square, I don't want you to be an entitled, arrogant, bratty teenager and sabotage and make mountains out of molehills, right? And take it so far to a level where now you don't even know why you were fighting in the first place, or why what blah 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 blah. Because with the Gemini energy, it can be so easy to for your mind to go into one direction, your mind to go into another direction, and then and boom, 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 boom. And 60 seconds later, in all the different realms of thinking you've gone to, got to be very careful, because on one end you can really do some amazing things and be the magician and change a lot of things in your life by changing your mind and going to a higher vibration. But if you're being manipulated, right, being manipulated by your unconscious, but also through your lack of spiritual hygiene and awareness and practice, so you are have a stronger buffer and defense against external invisible nefarious entities, right? This is some warrior Jedi shit that you have to focus on right now. Okay. And in addition to all this energy, we also have Venus in Cancer at 11 degrees, forming a 90-degree square to Saturn in Aries at 11 degrees. Okay. So more squares. Okay. More squares. And squares aren't bad. Squares aren't bad. They're uncomfortable. They can be uncomfortable. They can cause friction. They can create conflict. But ultimately, squares are designed for growth, right? To be checked and grow, right? So like in sports, let's say in sports, you think you're the one who is really good and should be the team lead, but then some new person shows up that you've never seen before, and turns out they are better than you, but you refuse to acknowledge their skill and talent, and instead you try to bully them, right? Now you have this conflict because there's an aspect of yourself that is doesn't want to acknowledge something. And then eventually, the dynamic between you and that other person turns into a friendship, right? Where whatever secrets of skills that initial enemy first had then can show you, right? And then you're able to work together to improve one another and become a real team. So that's the true intention between squares. It's not meant to be a bad thing. It's meant to discover where there is a need for compromise, cooperation, and growth, where are two figures that don't want to get along coming together but need to get along. We need each other's strengths, and through each other's strengths we need to improve on each other's weaknesses as well. So Venus, money, relationships, love, right? Self-worth, value. Venus in Cancer, home, family, nurturing, ancestry, memories. Okay. Squaring Saturn in Aries. Saturn, rules, structure, discipline, government, right? Government, military, corporations, banks. Okay. So this can create a conflict between who you are, who you want to be as an individual, wanting to do your own thing, wanting to walk your own path, but perhaps meeting um, walls of compromise or barriers, either in financial struggles or in a misalignment in the relationships in your life. This isn't necessarily romantic relationships, especially with Venus and Cancer. A lot of this could be family, the family unit, the home, the parents, the people who know you, right, where you come from, right, that are challenging your growth and the path that you are choosing to walk for yourself and becoming an individual, especially also with Saturn squaring to Venus. There could be some frustrating elements where your money and your sense of self-worth, your sense of security is being challenged and vulnerable and compromised due to now having to deal with a structured system of authority, right? So, for example, the other day, I was scrolling through Facebook. I think this might have been yesterday. And one of my Facebook friends, who I don't know them at all, so like a lot of my Facebook friends, I've never interacted with them. Either I friend requested them or they friend requested me. But this person was posting screenshots of their conversation with financial aid through their college, and their they were being denied their Pell Grant for their financial aid application for some kind of bullshit reason. And the person that this individual was dealing with, right? This person was dealing with somebody who was an authority in this system, right? Financial aid, right? This system, insurance, uh, um, bank loans, right? Money, paper, contracts, agreements, all Saturnian, squaring Venus, money, right? So she really needs that money as an independent mother, Cancer, mom, right? Trying to make her life better as an individual, right? And is not receiving any help from that. She's meeting a block. Now, I don't know anything about her life. I doubt she watches any of my videos. She doesn't seem, we don't really seem to pay attention to each other, but I noticed that post. I noticed a lot of posts because for me, I'm like, especially if it's something that's relating to the astrology, because I'm like, yeah, there it is right there. You're living the astrology, and I don't want to give you unsolicited astrological advice and say, hey, you probably should book a reading with me. Um, but maybe you can't because you said you don't got no money. Right? So here's the example, right? Because now this person is in this situation, but why? How did it happen? What are the series of events to get to this point as somebody claiming to have a 3.9 GPA, right, to then suddenly being rejected, right? Because according to your story, you've done nothing wrong, right? But what are they saying? What are their reasons, right? And so with the moon in Scorpio, this is like having to become aware, right, of that unconscious energy, the shadows, the habits, and to see if there was something about ourselves where we weren't really showing up, right? Did we overlook something? Did we not see something? For example, another example, my sister. My sister recently got in a car accident. She was T-boned in a car accident, and it's a very complicated situation where it's hard to say who exactly was at fault, right? Because of technicalities and certain things, right? So, so she got in a car accident, and she's also a single mother, right? I mean, she's married, but they're split. They don't live together, right? But she's a single mom taking care of her two daughters and was taking them to school. And she got T-boned in an accident, and she had no car insurance, right? She thought she did, and her husband communicated to her months ago in February that the car insurance was going to lapse and he's not going to pay for it. But she either didn't hear that or heard that and ignored that, or he probably never communicated it, right? The matter of the fact is that at some point, car insurance ended. And whether she was that was communicated to her or not, she chose to not think about it, to not be on top of her own shit and to surrender that to somebody else, right? So then now in this situation, the blame can be put on somebody else, somebody that you're not living with, somebody that you're currently separated from, you know what I mean? And they got into this accident, no car insurance, cars totaled. And my sister just spent like 800 bucks a month before for car repairs. All the money's gone, completely tapped out. She single mother, low income housing, paying for her apartment, now has no fucking car, works full time, right? And the guy's car insurance is saying that it's her fault. There's a court date, right? So we got insurance, we got court dates, Saturn, right? And Saturn's also karma and the hard learned lessons of your actions and consequences. And Saturn's also integrity and discipline, right? And and Venus and Cancer, this is relationships, this is family, and this is the mother archetype, the nurturing, our sense of self-worth, our value, and Venus is also money, right? So all these things are being hit hard right now, and I'm seeing it in multiple different almost anytime I look online, I'm seeing this dynamic. Anytime I hear something from somebody else in my life, whether through my wife or one of my friends or someone that say something, this is happening. Okay. Um, so, now she's having to, my sister's in this position of like, you know what, like, this accident, not my fault. I didn't foresee this, but the consequences of being in it and how hard it is, my fault, right? So she's understanding like, yeah, I should have had my own car insurance. I should have been making sure I was insured. I shouldn't because she slept on herself, right? So she's acknowledging this, right? And she feels really bad as a mother, right? Like I'm not here, so she's having to make those adjustments, right? And so this is what I'm saying about the squares, the Sun and Uranus square to the south and north node, is that sudden and unforeseeable events can occur right now and really put you in a situation where it seems like your whole life has been derailed and there are major things that have been destroyed, such as your fucking only dependable source of transportation and getting to work, right? Now you have to, right, you're in shock. You're having to think outside the box and figure out what am I gonna do? How am I gonna fix this? Right? Now we're in the karma. The karma is not that the thing happened. The karma is not the thing that happens. The karma is how you respond to the things that happen and take accountability and manage and the choices and the decisions and the way you treat yourself after the matter. The things that happen is not the karma. It's what you do afterwards is the karmic energy. And so that's the shift. That's the things that we're changing here right now. And this is what I'm trying to inform all of you that now, this weekend with the full moon, we're in very volatile energy, very tense energy. So be compassionate towards yourself, be compassionate towards others, calm. You want to try to be calm and have a even pace. You don't want excitable energy where you're here and here upwards to be leading you. If you see yourself in this higher, I want you to take time to literally just go, okay, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I can't even breathe right now. I can't even fucking breathe right now. I'm just like, whoo, what's going on? Whoo, get it out and just breathe. Okay. And try to come into center. This is super important. Very important, guys. I'm not just saying this just to say this shit. This is very important. So calm, come together, center yourself. You just need to bring your awareness there very quickly, okay? Very quickly. And understand who you intentionally or consciously trying to be in this moment and to not let your thoughts take you for a whirl, take you for a swirl, or your emotions. You need to be in control of them you need to be in control of yourself and not be a child, not be a teenage child. Be a responsible, reliable, independent adult in your life. This is what is the astrology is kind of showing us towards, but also to take your spiritual hygiene seriously, very seriously, because as we continue to progress with these new energies, and by new energies, I mean Uranus and Gemini, Neptune in Aries, and Pluto in Aquarius. As we progress in these new energies, okay, the intensity of living in a physical body through a mundane world, but also being spiritual and understanding that there are other dimensions, there are frequencies that are interfacing me just as intensely as the physical, tangible world is interfacing with me, right? So we're going to be going through a conscious evolution, spikes of awarenesses, having more experiences. And this is going to be way too much for majority of people in the world to handle, which means there's going to be a lot of unhinged level of insanity and just those deeper uh expressions come out that are actually all switches. They're all switches from the conditioning and the programming that has been created and set in place since birth, pre-birth, generational, okay? So a lot of these behaviors and things you're seeing on social media and out there, like it's all conditioning. Anyways, I don't even know if I made sense right then and there, but yeah, I'll just end it at that. Oh no, actually, hold on. Actually, motherfuckers, I gotta show you my article, right? So, um, so if you go to sleepingshaman.com, okay, here's the main page, sleepingshaman.com, and on the main page, look at that. You can get your free birth chart. Woo! Go ahead and do that. But also right here, you can see my packages, what I do, hypnotherapy, connect, a little bit about me, and right there, blog. Okay, I'm starting to write my blogs. I got a few up, because usually I've written all my blogs on Facebook. But I'm trying to make that transition now where I'm putting them on my website and sending them out through my newsletter. So here is a recent blog I'd like to read to you guys. So if you're still here, or if you need to leave and come back later and read this, or you want to go to my website, read it yourself, that's cool. But I'm going to read along here. So Shamanic Investigations, a journey of alignment, history, and healing in Wilmington. So, 2 weeks ago, my wife and I took a 2-day trip to Wilmington, North Carolina. It was a birthday adventure that we had planned all the way back in the first week of April. If you are unfamiliar with Wilmington, it is a very old city steeped in American history, from the Civil War and early European settlers to tales of pirates. This town is full of rich history and endless stories. One of the things my wife and I love to do when visiting a place with so much history is take a ghost tour. We truly enjoy the art of good storytelling. The Haunted Corner and the Echoes of the Past. The very first stop of our ghost tour was in front of a building that currently operates as a pizza shop. Our guide started telling us when the building was constructed a long time ago. It originally served as the town's first Masonic lodge. The upper third floor was used for their secret gatherings, while the ground floor was used for commerce. The guide shared a detailed story about a beautiful, attractive local woman who caught the attention of a rich, powerful man. They had a secret affair. The man was violent and struggled with alcoholism. One day, while the ground floor of the lodge was operating as a grocery store, the man flew into a violent rage. When the woman stepped in to try to bring him comfort, he sliced her open. She managed to run away to her friends, get her wounds cared for, and hide out for a few days. When she was finally ready to leave town, she returned to the grocery store to gather supplies. The powerful man was there waiting. He shot and killed her right in front of the building, and later took his own life. Our guide shared their names, which I cannot fully recall now, but I believe the man was a senator. As we stood outside the building listening to the heavy history, if I felt a sudden, distinct intuitive charge. I got the strong feeling that this exact corner was where a young Marine had been tragically stabbed and killed earlier that month in April. When the story ended and the group began walking to the next location, I stepped beside the tour guide and asked him quietly, "Is this the corner where the young Marine was killed?" He looked at me and replied, "It is actually, but we don't tell ghost stories on recent tragic murders." I told him, "Oh, no, I'm just curious. As you were telling that historical story, I started wondering if it happened right here, based on the heavy energy and the intense emotional charge of what happened so many years ago. It feels like the person involved in the recent tragedy was interacting with that same ancient rage and was possibly possessed." The tour guide looked at me dead in the eyes, a mix of worry and genuine curiosity in his face. He said, "You know, I never thought of it like that. You have a very valid point." I added one last observation, and it happened right in front of an old Masonic lodge, a space historically used for ritual work. It's charged with so much spiritual energy, which now operates as a pizza place called Slice of Life. Isn't that highly unusual? To top it all off, right on that pizzeria corner, a dozen young people were gathered holding candles. It took me a moment as we walked past to realize that we had walked right into a living vigil for the young Marine. It felt like another profound synchronicity, especially since the vigil was held 6 weeks after the murder. The astrology of the event: Scorpio versus Gemini. The moment I first heard about this tragic incident, which took place on April 5th, 2026, I felt an intuitive ping. I knew my wife and I were going to Wilmington not just for a quick vacation getaway, but to do some intentional energy work and bring in some healing. In fact, the tragedy occurred literally the day after we booked our Airbnb, which was my immediate cue to pay close attention to Wilmington. As an astrologer, after learning the history of that building, I went back and looked up the chart for April 5th, 2026. The moon was in Scorpio. I am a Scorpio rising. The moon in Scorpio can completely open the floodgates to intense lower frequency expressions, pulling from the deepest parts of the unconscious underworld. Scorpio governs the unseen depths, intense emotional pain, and the shadow side of reality. My own intuitive investigation led me to see the bigger picture. On a weekend night where people are downtown drinking and clubbing, an individual carrying a massive amount of unprocessed emotional trauma and dark energy can become vulnerable to those ancient looping environmental frequencies. A single night of rage resulted in multiple people being attacked and a young Marine losing his life right on a corner called Slice of Life. Fast forward to the night my wife and I stood on that corner. The moon was in Gemini. I am a Gemini sun and Gemini moon. In the archetypal zodiac, Gemini is the messenger, the one who gathers disparate pieces of information, synthesizes them, and delivers a deeper truth that can usher a change in perspective or adaptation. I realized I was there at that exact precise time to witness the visual, gather both the mundane facts and the metaphysical history, and piece together the larger spiritual puzzle, clearing the loops and stepping into purpose. When the tour concluded, my wife and I went to an ice cream shop right across the street from the pizzeria. As we sat outside, I shared everything I had pieced together and asked her to join me in sending light to the space. I meditated for a few minutes, calling on supportive, uplifting energies to help clear the heavy atmospheric density of the town and assist any lingering, stuck energies to transition peacefully so this historic downtown can begin to prosper in a fresh light free from the looping patterns of the past. The next day we stopped at a small local market where the owner makes incredible matcha lattes. While they were preparing our drinks, I mentioned that we had taken the ghost tour the night before, and I shared my perspective on the town's history and the recent events. I wish you all could have seen the shift in their facial expressions as the information sank in. The woman listening to my perspective felt a deep resonance with what I was sharing. They live there, own a business downtown, and are intimately familiar with the haunted history and the local lore. It was powerful to offer a perspective that transcended the purely mundane narratives of the tragedy. Looking back on the trip, I strongly feel that I was being guided through a profound personal initiation. The timing of every single event was too precise to be random. I had no idea what would unfold when we booked the trip, but my intuition knew that something significant was waiting for us. This trip taught me to actively put aside my imposter syndrome and truly embrace who I am, a healer, an empath, an astrologer, and someone dedicated to bringing angelic, uplifting frequencies to the earth. When I say I connect with an angelic life force, I am certainly not claiming to be a saint. I have my own set of everyday problems, and I still make mistakes from time to time. But it is a true reflection of my core spiritual and life force, a reality I am learning to honor, to tap into, and to trust more and more with every passing year. And then it takes you to my next blog, but we won't read that one right now. So, again, even in that blog post that I shared, relevant to the energies that we're moving through right now, increasing your awareness to see things beyond just the mundane and to start sensing and building the neurological the new neural pathways to begin to discern foreign entities, foreign energies, invasiveness that may try to hijack you, influence you, take you for a whirl, sabotage. Okay, that's one of the things that a lot of us that are on the spiritual path are going to begin evolving more and more in being able to discern, deflect, transmute, and purify these foreign energies. And with that being said, this video has been long enough. Love and light, death and darkness, full spectrum. Peace, y'all.